Welcome, everybody. You with the market sniper? We'll see how everything pans out. You probably notice our e-bike is still out of action. So we're going with the FE501, if you like to know your bikes. It's a dirt bike. It's Husqvarna. It is a 500cc, very similar to the KTM 495, its sister company. That is your travel for today. Please enjoy the ride. Okay, what are we talking about today? Well, there's a lot going on right now, guys. And the orchestrators and Zionists want you in a heightened state of cortisol, fear, and anger. That's quite clear. So I am going for a ride. This is Sunday, by the way. And you'll probably be watching this maybe Monday, Tuesday. But I'm reporting to you about a few million people that have been participating in the September 13 United Kingdom march, which involves the likes of Tommy Robinson, which also included a live stream appearance from yours truly, elongated muskiness, whose message was fight or die. In other clips posted by people on the left, they too have also declared that you're in a form of war. This is intentional. They've got you all in a heightened state of fight or flight. This is essentially the prison yard. You know, the reset in the prison yard where you tribally select and you sit down with your political tribe, your ethnic tribe, and you anticipate war from the other, and you prepare for war, and then you even start thinking, well, first strike is the best name of defense. You know, preemptive strike. You've heard that all before. The same language is being used. So you've got the Charlie Kirk assassination, if it's happened. Let's say it did. Most people assume it did, so let's stay with that. I don't have evidence to the contrary. We also have the Ukrainian relentlessly stabbed on the train, and the other 4 passengers on that half of the train largely ignoring the event and leaving her to bleed out and having nothing to do with it. And then you have Elon, who's characterizing it more as a left versus right fight. There's been plenty of hooray, Charlie Kirk died, leftist type feed that is being made readily available on X. And some of it is absolute Schadenfreude, as they would say in German. I pronounced it incorrectly. Go ahead. Spell out the pronunciation of how I should say Schadenfreude. I'd like to know. And as a result, these people are being de-jobbed as well, which I don't feel particularly sorry for them if that is happening. And we're having all of this go on. And wow, they are controlling your state of mind. There was a Max Headroom that was named after It was called Paranoia, the song, actually. Some of you might remember. And there was a character called Max Headroom, named after the boom, which actually was depicting maximum headroom for vehicles, heights. And there was some line. It's a media depiction designed to provoke an emotional response. It's designed to provoke an emotional response in you. Now, let's get a couple of things straight. That doesn't mean we shouldn't be responding. The Marxist left is advancing, and they are the most deadly. And we've got the center right stirring you up into a state of unrest. You should always be calculated and methodical by response. Never be reactional or emotional. And again, don't get me wrong, I can't look at that picture of that murder of that Ukrainian woman, and again, let's assume everything happened exactly as depicted, and she died as a result of a stabbing by that gentleman, and now being characterized and pushed down the legal channel of schizophrenic. It's always interesting when someone does a racist murder in one direction, and this is the control of the Marxism. It's mental disease. If a white does it in the opposite direction, there's no way it's a mental disease, it's a race hate crime. It's absolutely a race hate crime, what you saw and witnessed. He was certainly in control of his facilities sufficiently to board a train. I assume at some point he bought a ticket, unless he was smart enough to find a way to cheat the train, which all shows calculation, ability to compute in the brain to a certain degree. Chose where he sat, recognized who came in and sat in front of him, and took on his toxic racism to murder that person. And then declare that very fact. It's called a Freudian slip, where you justify your action and the reason is embedded therein. I got that white girl. Surrounded by, it hypernormalizes to all the others that they were safe and fine, they weren't in any danger. And those were the others that just stared at her like a piece of crap as she rolled over and died. So what you get is a very low sense of community of spirit when you have non-homogeneous societies. Diversity is not strength, and it was displayed right there because there were women and males there that witnessed someone in a late stage extreme physical distress due to chronic injury to the chest brought by a sharpened instrument being plunged in her chest that killed her. And their response was, not my tribe, not my problem. How do I disassociate myself from the situation and my locality to it? Homogeneous societies don't act like that. Diversity is not your strength, but that's something for another day. What is quite clear is that they're pushing him down the mental health issue, which, by the way, is how they saved Kobe, who was the cannibalistic, ritual sacrificing tough guy for Stalin in Georgia, who killed and ate the hearts of people. Was he also mentally deranged? Well, he knew how to rob a bank. He knew how to be part of rob a bank. He knew how to make a bomb and made a bomb that killed many people. He knew how to serve his master, Stalin, and do hits. He was eventually killed by Stalin. He was on a bicycle and ridden over. Later, Stalin killed all those that had the dirt in him afterwards. That's why I say it's a very Machiavellian existence. The people, if they win in this game, the Marxists, the global Talmudic Marxists, are playing shitty games and winning shitty prizes. For that is no doubt, because once the crabs have eaten all the soft meat in the bucket, they'll start eating each other, because that's who they are. It's like the story of the frog and the scorpion, with the scorpion riding on the frog's back to escape the flood across the river. He stung the frog, and the frog said, "Why did you do that? We're working together to survive."
as he's drowning, the scorpion, as the frog is drowning, with the scorpion on his back due to drown too, he gets his question off, and the answer is, because that's what scorpions do. We have a hyena predator in an honest society, and I watched hyenas. I watched how they crept after a leopard with her 2 babies, waiting for there to be some distance to try grab one. They prey on the young, they prey on the weak, and that's how they embed themselves in society. But unlike the hyena, which admits and is a low-level carrion-eating animal, carrion and infant-eating, easy kill-eating predator, these others put themselves forward as the protectors of the poor and the meek, whilst actually they utilize the poor and the meek as toads to cross the river and sting them in the end. And these weaponized poor and weak, welfare-reliant recipients that get engaged on the Marxist cause of tax everybody else are all people looking for somebody else to feed them. These are people who have surrendered their self-reliance to state. Essentially, by principle, we're at war between people at principle level that seek to secure their own freedom, libertarian, and accept the responsibility of determining their own existence and are self-reliant, versus a lechery, lower degree human, which I would even go so far as to say poverty is a mental disease, much like transgenderism. It's a lack of confidence, a lack of faith in your own inherent ability to contribute value add to the rest of society such that you may receive reward therefore, and thereby have an existence. So Marxism weaponizes the lowest common denominator, those prone to violence, criminality, and then seeks to protect them at any way possible at the cost of the productive half of the society. Zionism is the counterpoint to Marxism, but its Siamese friend that pretends to be against the goals of Marxism at every way, and directs the rage of those whose tune they are singing in a manner that is a trap. In a manner that is a trap for the self-reliant. Because the civil war, the reactionary behavior to the provocation of the Talmudic Marxist, plays into the hands of civil unrest, martial law, and escalating totalitarianism, and entrenches government because you lot can't get on and exist in peace. As a result, we need UBI, social score, freedom of movement restrictions, proof of this, proof of that. State gets further entrenched when they successfully divide and conquer. That leads to organized violence, which they are actually perpetrators for. And I remind you of the bricks that were conveniently dropped on street corners during the largely peaceful BLM votes. Not only did they stir those riots, they even, for the lazy, ensured that the tools for weaponized unrest were made available for maximal damage and for the newsreels. And that is the rub. The Zionist half is a fake friend. In some senses, the Marxism is more honest. We know the enemy, we know their philosophy, and we know what they stand for. The Zionism is sold to you as your friend, when actually all it is weaponized Israel that will help bring in the globalized Marxism because of the reaction you will give to the prods and nudges that they provoke in you. Elon Musk is one of the most dangerous men because you think he speaks words of reason on your behalf.
You think because he gives you a platform to shriek on social media that you are receiving service from him. In fact, you are being social scored already for the future social score. And you are being labeled, and I accept this, and I know this is happening to me. Palantir will be capturing your opinions to be used against you once all the anti-Semitic laws have been fully put in place and are ready to take hold. Think about that. I'm here in Cyprus, and there are areas in Nicosia where some land has been bought up by Israelis that now faces a synagogue being built and Cypriot police having to do strip searches of anybody who wants to attend a restaurant in that area, providing specialist protection for a nation perpetuating against the Palestinians in Cyprus. Special protection that the local police are conducting against their own citizens who never asked for these people to come here, to create an Israeli ghetto for their values and to slowly create an encampment in a foreign country which is not theirs, for which the government has already agreed and is paying salaries to Cypriot police to render unique protection rights to these new visitors who seem to be making themselves comfortable. In other news, in the south of Ukraine, a large amount of land has been partially procured as a Jewish-only zone for which Ukrainians may not go in. Christian Orthodox Ukrainians cannot go into these areas that are being decreed as 100% Jewish-only areas. Think about that for a second. They are ghettoizing a large part of South Ukraine with new immigrant Israelis, much like they did in Palestine post-World War, after a huge amount of indigenous Slavic males have been completely slaughtered in a war that they have no odds of winning, which they will not conclude. Trump said he'd end the war. What happened? Well, it's proven pretty good on eliminating Slavic males who are now unable to protect their blonde-haired, blue-eyed Ukrainian females. Think the one butchered on the train. And let's understand something. As much as I'd like it to be some other way, men are the protectors. Men are the alpha creators. In the void of a sincere male protection over the children and women, when you have a predatory male from a different culture, you end up with a pimp and prostitute styled culture. You know those Hitler posters about Berlin that everybody said was so untrue, with the blonde hair, blue-eyed prostitute and her pimp? Watch how that south of Ukraine area becomes the new prostitute brothel for unemployed single mothers and single Ukrainian females failing to get any income, not having any male family makers provide protection, income, and care for them and family. This hasn't been a very economic discussion, it's been a very political discussion. But there gets a point where you realize the politics and the economics are synonymous. Politics and economics are entirely synonymous. The expanding Israeli project that has seized Syria, mopping up here and there with some bombing, finishing off Gaza and Palestine, is now moving also into southern Ukraine. Without a peace deal in sight, and for now, while they get organized, are entirely no-go zones for anyone but a Jew. That's where you're living, and that's who's behind Marxism and communism. And they run the Zionist front as well. Now you can recognize your enemy, but don't pray to a false friend. Don't bow your knee to a false friend in these economic times. You need to know. You need to know that Charlie Kirk started noticing a bit too much of the wrong stuff. His more later discussions revealed that. And that's the only thing that killed him. And they are very good at paying homage to someone they've just slaughtered. Maxwell fell off a yacht in the channel somewhere. That wasn't his real name. He was a Czechoslovak Ashkenazi who changed his name not once but a number of times, ran the Mirror Group and stole out the pension fund in its collapse, and is the father of Ghislaine Maxwell, and fell off his yacht and disappeared. Don't worry, he got a hero's funeral in Tel Aviv. He'd done his work and he'd served his time. He'd probably also served his usefulness. He'd probably got a bit angry about how things were turning out for him, given what he had contributed, which actually includes the securement of nuclear weapons for Israel. Ironically, at the same time, South Africa was securing nuclear weapons and was made to stand down from doing exactly such things. Palindaba is a place not far away from Pretoria and had a nuclear program, and it was well understood. Don't forget, South Africa got uranium like very few other countries do. We should be a nuclear powerhouse in terms of power. I don't care for the weaponry. But I can tell you, if you have the weapons, the rules change for you in terms of how you're perceived in this grand game. So in terms of the markets, we'll soon be hearing what's going to happen with the Fed. Whether it's 1 cut, 2 cuts. For those of you wondering, the bike hasn't been ridden for ages and there's moisture in the tank. I think it's over 1.5 years. So, for those of you wondering about the Fed and the economics, it doesn't matter if it's a 1/4 point, a 1/2 point. The long run for the long ends is up. Because no matter what George Gammon tells you or others, look at this bid for treasuries. no matter what they tell you, a lot of that bid comes from inside the Fed and from the slave nations that they've organized around the Fed, such as the UK, Cayman Islands, Belgium, Luxembourg. That's fake demand, friends. That's get buried with your pharaoh. The UK is wrecked. The one place Americans shouldn't run, I doubt you would run, but it warrants saying anyway, would be the United Kingdom. Gold has a high of 3,768. It should pass that target, and it could well do it this coming week. This could drag silver into the mid-40s, possibly heading towards 50, 45, 50 range. That could be the point at which a demand-destroying event occurs. Damn, we need to get past that car. Dust storm time. Yep. I expect a pullback from the 50 levels on silver, but I could be wrong. I work on the thesis of once, twice, 3 times you are rejected, and the 4th time you break. It served me very well in technical analysis. And that $50 level is exceedingly psychological historically. What could bring it all down and taking a rest? Well, gold will be at its target, I assume, of 3,768. She'll probably run 3,770, maybe right up to 3/8. That's likely to see silver continue in an upside trajectory. And if silver gets to that 45, 49 level as gold is running the 3/8, that would be a very good time for them to pull out the drama. The drama of whatever style drama they want. So I think we've got a good run still to go, but not forever. Then we'll have a rest. But whatever drama it is, and whatever pullback gold and silver makes during that period, it will be your last discount buy before a very, very strong move. Once silver has broken the 50 level, tens of dollars will fall at a time. And you might just suddenly go into overreach price discovery mode. And that, friends, is the money shot. And by the way, miners who currently have their costs in recession and their profit top line in absolute boom, and have been neglected immensely by Wall Street for ages. are probably the buy of the decade, possibly the century. I want to go a little bit savage, but not too much so, while concentrating on the ride. I jumped on the bike in a hurry. It needs actually a service. It's been sitting for too long, but I'm enjoying getting back on it. It's just such a fruity engine, a 500. It's just so torquey. You just gas it like that and it's straight there. You know, it's instant response. You can just play around. But it's the first time in a while for me. And I haven't got full protection kits. I always put on kits, don't get me wrong. But I want proper knee guards and elbow guards on, and I've not done that, so. And I'm also a very limited rider. So you should check out Tom Broderick's channel, which does gold as well, Palisade Radio. And we went riding together, and he's an exceptional rider. I'd love to see him do some, he'd do this on the back wheel, by the way. There was another SA rider who was with him, who's probably his match, equal standard. But what a rider. It's a totalitarian outcome that is born out of the phony struggle of Zionism against Marxism, where both hands are run by the Talmudic order. And they synthesize a free market capitalism for the corporate fascist cartel of unicorns and themselves, and a totalitarian, highly regulated UBI social credit score for everybody else, where all your data, all your everything, and pre-crime is absolutely a thing. The preemptive strike of the military-industrial complex applies to everything. They want to justify all their actions as preemptive strikes against known evil. You are all, for your freedom, your thoughts and libertarian feelings, an axis of evil to their agenda, and thereby all meritworthy for a preemptive strike. Oh dear, I think I'm running out of petrol there. I can't believe it. I am. I thought I had enough. How funny. Well, that will be the end of this video, friends. I saw it was a bit low, but I thought I'd have enough to get around. The preemptive strike is a pre-crime. Pre-crime is coming because the preemptive strike is doctrine. The preemptive strike philosophy is actually the license to be an aggressor and an initiator. And it is 100% against every aspect of libertarianism, non-violence. I can start a fight every single time on the basis that somebody else appeared threatening in some way, under the premise of the preemptive strike. They've established this as a norm in the military-industrial complex, and they are now establishing it, and will establish it in the future, in terms of civil liberties and how they behave towards everybody. So while I sit here abandoning my motorcycle in somebody's farm, I'm warning you that preemptive strike doctrine is not just for the military-industrial complex. That inherently UBI, social scoring, and everything else that is coming down the chute towards us will fall prey to the right of state to, in advance, take actions against you on the basis of certain assumptions. Inherently, you are all dangerous people with dangerous thoughts of freedom and liberty. Now that you see that Marxism is actually weaponizing the lowest common denominator against you, as in BLM, the blue-haired white liberal female brigade, the academia and professors and teachers, education is rife with them. As you notice this, back with my Bolshevik cap, didn't know I'd be finishing the ride with that. As we notice this, notice all
that everything about the Bolshevik communism revolution is actually here and coming to you. And in some ways, Elon's comments about you need to fight are in fact true. So having taken him down and critiqued him and told you he's not his friend, there is truth to the take action, just not the kind of action I think he's implying, although he doesn't get very specific on that. Let's walk. Shank's pony is back, friends. Bye bye bike. Ta-ra, ta-ra. Yeah, so that was, I didn't show you the bike. Some of you like bikes and want to know the details. May as well, seeing as I wasn't expecting to have this kind of ride. That's the 501 Husky. Comes in white man bad, by choice of color. And yeah, so elongated is somehow saying fight, but fight what? Fight what in what way? Physically fight? Go on streets and be caught in the mass crowds? Throw stones? Burn the flag of BLM? These reeds, by the way, it's part of a 3,000 to 5,000 year old river. There's a ruin up there that precedes Christ. That's incredible. This waterway to the sea. It's one of the few points of water here as he mops his brow with his communist hat. You never know what you're going to get with a sniper video. Sniper himself doesn't know what he's going to get. Taking chances. It's actually I'm a risk taker. Do you know, I probably in my young years ran out of petrol in my car about 4 or 5 times. There's one very funny story I'll save for another day, but I always think, I hate filling up. We'll get there. We'll get an opportunity just now. And then, as it turns out, I run out of gas. I miss gas. I assume the reserve is going to be bigger than it is, and so yeah, should have warned you. You got to walk the last mile when it comes to me. So I'm going to meet a community member now. I'm already late. I was already late when the bike was running. We're going to have bread and circuses and watch a sport ball go team moment, whilst noticing and realizing that it is distraction, just so that we can have a reason for catch up and chat. I like to meet our community members. In January we're going to be meeting a whole bunch. In fact, some will stay in one of our properties. They've been in the community for a long time. They're known forces to us. In fact, they trade leaders, most of them. We have a lady who sold up in the UK, who's also in the Western Cape. We'll bring her around as well as a community member. We have people leaving the West. Don't be the one to switch out the light. Here's a Ray Dalio kind of thing. I'm not quite sure where to put Ray Dalio. It seems a bit fortuitous, last minute, but at the same time there's a lot of truth in everything he says. And he's maybe trying to come good, having benefited very well out of the system for a very long time. But you have a cycle. The problem with, and 50% of this channel watching is Americans, and another, quite a bit of dust on that, another 25% or 20% will be UK guys and girls, of course, is that you have hypernormalization. Every day is just like the previous day. There's very little that changes. Sun comes up, you still got the same job. You know, it's twitch, it's very slow. The noticing of real change, you know, a law changes somewhere far away, you read about it, sounds bad, the news dies down, you go to work again, nothing changes. Well, I'm afraid to say, everybody just considers the trend to be like this. Yesterday plus 0.01%. Prices maybe a touch higher by a small amount. Maybe you're not so far away from getting a meager increase, but otherwise the same. And in actual fact, you're sitting on a trend reversal. It's kind of like if I take a male life. Many of you are male watching this. We love our women as well. It's not too different. Your years when you go from a teenager to 28. You're generally getting stronger. You're generally getting bigger. You're generally getting wiser, hopefully, most of you. You're generally growing in all areas. When you're at the age on the wrong side of 50, like me, you realize you don't bench press what you used to bench press. You don't recover like you used to. If you get sore, you stay sore. I haven't drunk alcohol on any meaningful scale in a decade. I don't drink, is simply put, but at one point I did. Because it stopped serving me. I couldn't recover from it. It never brought me to my best part. It was anesthetic for pain. I rather just acknowledge the pain. It became anesthetic for pain. And deal with your pain in other ways. They call it spirits for a reason when you drink spirits. It opens portals for the wrong kind of spirits, I think, to come out. I had my nose broken. I don't know why these childhood things were coming back. I've started asking about my life. Started thinking, and various funny stuff happened. I remember a beer fest once. It was still last year of school or just after school. We were at an October beer fest, and there was some really big muscly guy who was an army PDI who lived in the same suburb as a lot of my mates, and he was a bit of a bully and put himself about. And he came up to the group of us when we were at the beer fest, chatting in a circle to play what he thought was a prank, which basically involved him taking a massive swig of beer in his mouth and spraying it into the biggest guy's face. From his mouth, basically spitting a whole mouthful of beer in the other and then bursting out laughing. I don't know why this memory came back to me, and I don't even know why I'm caring to share it. But when you hit a certain age and you go back through your life and you look at who you were, what you did, what things served you, what things didn't. I remember what things define you as a person. What things define you sometimes as a person. I was not a brawler. I was always more spindly, tall and gangly. Not being prone to weight, didn't put on muscle easily when I was young. I was skinny belinkis, but I was enraged by this man's conduct. Man. So the funniest thing I did, we were in a tent, of course, and it was like straw on the ground, and it had just been put up like this marquee. And this guy, everyone did this, and everyone was shocked and embarrassed. My first action was to take a massive slug. We all had these half liters of beer, glasses, mugs that we were drinking. And we had just arrived, we were quite sober. I took a massive slug of this thing, glug, 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 while this guy was laughing and pointing at the guy's face. And I just did the exact same back to him. I just barfed about 250 mils of beer. I just whoosh in his face. Straight back. This guy was much bigger than me. It wasn't a smart thing to do. But inherently, I fucking hate bullies. And I had probably a little bit of Dutch courage in me, or no fear of consequences. The guy was absolutely astounded.
And all my mates were like, oh, you picked on something. But it was a show-stopping moment, and the guy glared at me, and he had mates that came with him. Muttered something at me, and then went to the side where he continued to glare at me because there were bouncers in there. Big bouncers, grown adult bouncers. We were like a year or two out of school. And it's kind of, it was a stupid thing to do on my behalf, but it's also, it's endemic in me. No matter the scale of the opposition and their might and the fact that they'll win. And when I say win, when we left, he was waiting outside for me with his friends, and I got head-butted and my nose was broken. So I paid in full for pushing back against the bully. But we had a little moment, me and my pals, where we pissed ourselves and said, he sure didn't like it up him when it came back at him. And we were aware that there would be consequences for me. At follow-up parties, he was always looking for me to hunt me down for round 2 to try re-establish his broken pride. Managed to avoid most of them. Friends kept me outside when he was showing up. But the point is, there's a point in principle where you have to push back. And that's why I say, in one way, Elon is right. The problem is, it's a pushback against an enemy that is far bigger, far stronger than you in most ways. And sometimes you should do something anyway. And sometimes you have to be self-preservational. Talk to me today about that incident. Sort of hope in hell that I'm throwing myself under the tank, you know, the Beijing rioters' tank. It's self-sacrificial. So I pass on the wisdom to you. Resist the bullies, but resist them smart. And what does that entail? It doesn't entail running out and enacting their same level of violence or poor conduct that they've enacted on you. That just ties you into a civil war where the only thing that will be highlighted is you spraying the beer in their face. On the news, they have final edit and cut, and it'll all be about your act. You got dragged down to their level. And in that 1 year, first year university moment where I thought, fuck this guy, and what a showstopper scene he just created here, have it up you. It was emotional response. It was a reactive response. It wasn't a response of wisdom. Far better would have been to have let every bit of air out of his tires on an unproven basis. If you had to cause him some inconvenience, report him, you know, some other plausible deniability mechanism of giving adverse feedback events is what we really need to do. So don't be me in 1986, I think it was. Don't get sucked into their game. Rather, be smart, take notes, keep receipts, and plan your response. And now I must go find petrol and recoup my bike. Till next time, I'll catch you later. Bye.
Tired of profit wipeouts and blown accounts from following trade signal groups and other YouTube channels? Looking for a better way to trade, reduce your stress, and minimize your risk? Become a skilled technical analyst and see the charts and markets in a new light using the successfully proven HVF method by Francis Hunt, while being surrounded and supported by a principled, structured, and experienced community. Enjoy a constructive learning environment while practically trading markets, supported by a bespoke platform run through browser and app, specifically designed to teach and engage you whilst learning and growing as the markets move. This is not a Telegram or Slack signal group. All trade ideas are based on a proprietary technical analysis process honed over decades, which is the HVF method, leading to trade ideas with fast-moving breakouts and tight stops, exact entries and exits, nuanced interim considerations, and ultimately, strong rewards. Submissions are graded and scored by Francis for potential high-quality setups, and we provide bespoke tools to help get the job done properly and with precision. Over time and with focused effort, you'll begin to look at charts and price action just like Francis. Community updates every day by Francis and our 3 webinars a week provide a 360-degree approach, which are presented by our experienced team of trade leaders to spot potential trades. We're a community of self-actualized individuals, spanning the globe and active 24/7, 365. The premium community provides a warm, supportive, and cooperative place for people willing to listen, participate, contribute, and to learn. We've changed thousands of traders' lives. Transform your approach to trading now. Transform your life. Book an introductory call with us on the link below.